Hi, I'm Jennifer Mele. I'm an independent consultant with Pampered Chef. Welcome to my kitchen. So tonight for dinner I am making mini lasagna squares, and so I'm using my brownie pan. I love this. So you can use it for sweet or savory. Today of course we're going to do savory for lasagna, but instead of using traditional lasagna noodles we're going to be using raviolis. So I have the recipe from the Pampered Chef website. It does recommend using spinach, but my kitchen, my rules, I'm going to skip the spinach and use ricotta instead. This is my kitchen spritzer. So this is an older one. The newer ones look a little bit different because they have upgraded it since then. So you saw me pumping it up just like this. And then I just spritz the inside of the pan, just like you would with a store-bought. The difference is that this uses oil that I have at home. So I choose to use avocado oil because it has a higher smoke temp than olive oil. So it's really great for universal when I'm using it in my deluxe air fryer and other baking pans. So I'm just going to lightly spray the wells of the pan just to make sure nothing sticks together. So it says here, preheat my oven to 350 degrees. I'm good to go, that's already going. So I have my grater. They have two different kinds. This is the fine grater. We also have a coarse grater. You can buy them separately or together. Obviously the fine one's a little smaller. This is the cover, so when it is inside of my drawer, I don't, scratch my fingers. And you can either put it like a T, so it can sit right on your counter, or you can lay it flat and do it right over the dish, which is what I'm going to be doing today. So I already had my mozzarella shredded. I never buy shredded cheese from a store because it has extra stuff in it, and by stuff I mean cellulose, which is made from wood, I hear. I had to Google it. So if you grate your own cheese, it does melt much, much better. So please make sure if you have a moment, I usually buy a couple of blocks of mozzarella and I just grate a whole bunch at once and then put it into 2-cup portions in the freezer. That way I can just grab it really quickly when I want to. So I have 1 cup of mozzarella already. This here is an attachment that goes with my shredder. This is like a parmesan, and put it right over my dish. I was feeling incredibly lazy today and I just didn't feel like going. Had all these grand plans and none of them really happened. So lasagna squares are quick and easy. I used my kitchen scale to measure out 1 ounce of the Parmesan cheese. It's being difficult. It's not even the tool, it's the cheese itself. There we go. But I did notice a big difference when I switched to home grated cheese. So a little arm workout. I find it interesting because they said 1 ounce of cheese or 1/4 cup. I measured 1 ounce, but it's way more than a 1/4 cup. So I'm going to stop there because that's a lot of cheese actually. So just because it makes sense on paper doesn't mean it necessarily, you can't tweak it along the way to suit what works for you. I have my handy dandy scraper. I have these in all sizes just to kind of mix things up a little bit. So inside here I have mozzarella, I have the Parmesan cheese, and I'm skipping the spinach because I just wasn't feeling it. I'm just gonna put in some ricotta. Whenever I buy ricotta, is always like a lot left over. I will put it in cheesecloth and squeeze out the water, and it works really good for when I'm making a white pizza. So I put it in a Ziploc baggie in smaller portions so I can just grab what I need for one night's dinner, and I don't have to waste the extra ricotta. I do find that taking the extra water out is going to help you with freezing it though, because it is kind of a softer cheese. Okay, so that looks like a good texture. The recipe calls for 24 of the frozen cheese raviolis. I actually am choosing to use the Rana because that's what I had on hand. This is a chicken roasted garlic. So there wasn't 24 in here, but there was 18. So I was like, I'll make it work. There's just 2 of us anyways. I have some tomato sauce. I freeze it in small containers. Put in about a tablespoon. Right in the bottom. This is the adjustable measuring spoon right here. So you can move it down, and there comes in a set of 2. Goes from as small as 1.5 teaspoons to 2 teaspoons, 2.5 teaspoons, up to 1 tablespoon. So it is nice because you got 1 spoon to wash. So it's gonna call for about 1 3/4 of sauce. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So I have about that there. And so I put in my sauce. Oh, I almost forgot my garlic. Goodness gracious. I told you it's been one of those days. So this is just a clove of garlic. I notice it still has a skin on it. And this is my garlic press. For real, this is the most amazing heavy duty thing. And it has a pivoting head. I pop it in, do it right over. Get your head away from the top of it because it can squirt some juice. There we go. And when I lift it open, the skin's still inside, safe and sound, and I can just put it off to the side. I love the garlic press. I do have a garlic slicer as well. And while I have you here, I'm going to show you what that looks like. The garlic slicer is nice for when I'm doing pastas where I want to actually see it. The press makes it really small, obviously, like a fine mince. But this one has 2 razor blades in it. And then there's a compartment on either side that spins that you can turn. So this here goes inside. You put the garlic inside on both sides, and then you twist it, and then the really thin garlic comes out through the bottom of it. It's amazing. It also comes with this, which is made of silicone. You put the garlic inside and you roll it on your counter, and it takes the skins off. But I love that too. Okay, I'm just mixing in the garlic now. This is like the lazy man's lasagna. I don't have to boil noodles. And I'm thinking, I'm gonna add a little parsley. It wasn't in the recipe, but it just looks a little plain. Here we go. That looks a lot better. So I look again. I have my mozzarella, my parmesan, garlic, and marinara sauce is ready to go. And so then I just put in my raviolis. So take 1 little ravioli inside of each well. Love my brownie pan. I use it for cupcakes too, and brownies, and cookies. Make salted caramel cookie bars, but instead of putting it in a big pan where it gets really soft and chewy on the inside, every square has a corner. It's amazing. Okay, so I have 1 ravioli in there. And then I'm going to use my medium scoop, which is about 2 tablespoons. Put 1 inside of each well. I'm making this early enough too where when it's finished cooking I can let it sit and let the cheese kind of regroup again, because you know whenever you're cooking regular lasagna, whenever you make the cheeses really hot, you have to give them time to come back together. And that's it. So this is my small batter bowl. I also have a large batter bowl. They do come with covers. And this one, the small batter bowl is 4 cups worth, and the big batter bowl is 8 cups. So it's amazing when I'm mixing something how many times have you started to mix something and realized your container was too small? So this is plenty of room for what I needed tonight, but most often I use my 8 cup because that's really good for getting in there and not having it slop all over your counter. But I like the cover too because then I can pop it on and stick it in the fridge, especially when I'm making bread and it needs to sit on the counter to rise. It says cover it with plastic wrap, and I don't have to because I have that. So I'm gonna flatten out my cheese. I don't know if you can see it. Yep. And then I'm supposed to put another ravioli on top. Kind of works out that I had some extra parmesan because I'm gonna put some on top of my marinara as well, I think. There's no such thing as too much cheese. Okay, so that's it. I have marinara, I have a ravioli, I have the cheese mixture, I have another ravioli, and I'm just gonna spoon some more sauce on top. And this works really good when you have people in the house that don't necessarily like the same things, whether it is your brownies or your raviolis. Say Johnny really doesn't like red sauce. You can substitute it with something else. When you're using brownies and this person likes nuts, this person wants M&Ms, you could mix it up like that. I'm putting more sauce on it because I want all of the edges to be wet. Flip that over. I notice some of my raviolis are curling up, so I'm just flipping them over. I should have kind of noticed that beforehand, but there we go. I want to make sure they have an opportunity to soften, because usually you would boil them for just a couple of minutes. I don't know if you've had a chance to look yet. I do have a YouTube channel where when I do live videos, I store them on YouTube, so that way it's not just on my Facebook party page or my business page, but I also have them on YouTube, so that way if I have friends and family who don't check Facebook as often or at all, then they can still see what I'm doing. So that's it. I have layers. I'm good to go. I'm gonna double check because if I don't look at the directions just many times, I'm gonna forget something. So that's excellent. A little more cheese. And this is a non-stick, so anything that goes on the edges is gonna come right off in the wash. They do have a little mini bite brownie pan. That one's really good too because the portions are even smaller. They call them 2-bite brownies, but it depends on who you're talking to. I told my husband that, he just laughed at me. He's like, 2 bites? They're pretty small. Okay. Oh, yum. Ugh. Make a little bit of a mess. But it wouldn't be me if I didn't make a mess of the kitchen. It's part of my charm. Which is kind of why I like to cook a little early too, so that way I could clean up my mess along the way. So that's it. For funsies, I'm gonna put a little more parsley on top. I'm not gonna add salt because this Parmesan is pretty salty. So I'll just leave that as it is. I used everything. Oh, one thing I do want to caution, if you don't fill all the wells, like I didn't have enough to make all 12 of the wells filled with ravioli, I'm just going to fill the empty ones with water. It's the same thing as when you are making cupcakes If for some reason it's empty, fill it with water because it just helps with the even heat distribution. And don't fill it all the way up because I have a feeling one of those is a little full and it might just spill over. Make for a soggy ravioli. But that's it. Thanks for joining me. If you have any questions, let me know. And check out my YouTube channel when you have a chance. And I hope you have a great night. Thanks. Bye.